First up, in the ongoing feud between Selena Gomez and Hailey Bieber, fans have made it abundantly clear who they support. And surprise, surprise, it's not Justin Bieber's wife Hailey. She's been exposed for being a mean girl, a bully, and something that's even worse these days, a nepo baby. But now she's just been exposed for something else. Fans have found evidence that makes it seem as though she might also be racist. People had been doing a deep dive into her old Twitter and Tumblr posts, with hopes of finding something shocking, and they definitely found what they were looking for. They posted screenshots of tweets and Tumblr posts dating back years that showed examples of Hailey using the N-word casually, claiming that she came back from Florida a different race, and using language associated with racism against the Asian community. In a tweet from January 2012, she wrote, "Shut up before I smack you back to your own country." And then in November of 2013, she wrote, "To those foreigners who don't celebrate Thanksgiving, so sorry your country didn't have pilgrims and Indians to start such a sick holiday." Yeah, that's pretty indefensible. Shortly after, most tweets mentioning her past were deleted, and Hailey decided to close her Twitter account altogether. Celebrities often forget that you can find literally everything on the internet these days, and obviously her past eventually came back to bite her. In fact, fans have discovered a whole lot more since then, and most of it is pretty embarrassing. Recently, there's been evidence posted that proves that she was a hardcore Justin Bieber fan for years before they got together. In fact, she would often tweet about his relationship with Selena and how much she shipped them as a couple. In a deleted tweet from 2012, she wrote, "I don't care what anyone says, but Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez together is the definition of a teenage dream." Soon after that, a video resurfaced online from 2012 that shows Hailey lurking in the background while Justin met with fans. She was in the crowd trying to get close to him, as if she was just another fan waiting her turn. This is pretty strange, considering that they were first introduced in 2009, so at the time of the video they would have met before. These days, the couple's every move has been watched more than ever, and so many people are convinced that they have a toxic relationship. In 2020, Justin got a ton of flack from fans in a paparazzi video that went viral. In that shocking clip, the singer pulls up in a black chauffeured SUV. As he got out of the car, he looked visually annoyed, as if he's just had some kind of meltdown. Without looking back, he carelessly slams the door in Hailey's face. Then in 2021, fans were shocked when a video went viral of Hailey making Justin physically uncomfortable. The two of them were doing a live stream of some kind when an awkward moment broke out. In the video, Justin could be seen sitting down casually while Hailey was standing behind him with her arms crossed. She then tries to be affectionate and puts her arms around him, which makes him visibly annoyed. He says, "Babe, I can't. Don't touch me right now. I just need some space." To be fair, he is trying to be nice about it and communicate with her honestly, but in terms of his body language, you can tell that he's not loving the way he's being touched. Now, obviously every relationship is different and every couple has different boundaries with each other, but a lot of people felt that Hailey was straight up disrespecting his. Either way, these little moments of tension don't necessarily mean that the couple are having issues, because we still have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. So for now, it's all just speculation. Moving on, Cara Delevingne is finally speaking out about her battle with substance use and sobriety. If you didn't know, last year was a crazy time for her. She checked herself into rehab after paparazzi photos of her at Van Nuys Airport went viral. These pictures were extremely concerning when they started circulating around social media. Cara looked very disheveled, and there was a video taken of her behaving erratically while pacing around the car park. She was seen dropping her phone several times, shaking, and generally unable to stand still. Now, Cara says those photos became a source of overwhelming shame and the wake-up call that she desperately needed. In a new interview for the April cover of Vogue, the model opened up about that chaotic incident. Apparently, she had just come back from Burning Man after a summer of intense partying for days on end. She said, "It's heartbreaking because I thought I was having fun, but at some point it was like, okay, I don't look well. You know, sometimes you just need a reality check." So in a way, those pictures were something to be grateful for. At that time, Cara was at the end of her rope. Soon after lockdown started in 2020, she and her girlfriend Ashley Benson broke up, and without any acting work, she started to feel incredibly isolated. Quote, "I just had a complete existential crisis. All my sense of belonging, all my validation, my identity, everything was so wrapped up in work. And when that was gone, I felt like I had no purpose. Instead of taking the time to really learn something new or do something new, I got very wrapped up in misery, wallowing, and partying." But even after lockdown ended, she continued to party heavily because she wanted to escape that and change her reality. But things reached a head in the spring of 2022 when her grandmother passed away. She went to the Met Gala soon after and got blackout at the after party, even though she had to go to the funeral literally the next day. At the Billboard Music Awards in May, she wound up being one of the most talked about guests that night because of her bizarre behavior. Cara was seen making strange faces and lurking behind Megan Thee Stallion. Later that night, when Megan was called out as the winner of the female rap artist category, it looked like Cara was invading her personal space by sticking her tongue out near her face and fiddling with her dress as she stood up to receive her award. Not long after this, a video surfaced online showing Megan and Doja chatting away in their seats before Cara literally sticks her head between them. There were so many memes created of that moment, but no one could really figure out why she was behaving that way. Fast forward to August when Cara turned 30. She started to realize that her hardcore lifestyle was not actually sustainable, and she knew that something had to give. Quote, "There was this need for change, but I was fighting it so much. I was welcoming this new time, but I was also grieving. And so I decided I was going to party as hard as I could because this was the end." But by the next month, she decided that she really needed help if she was going to turn a new page. She reached out to her old friends who came to her for support. This is when photos were taken of Margot Robbie and Poppy Delevingne crying after leaving her house. Her journey towards sobriety certainly hasn't been easy, but it's also helped her realize a lot about her internal struggles. She said, "People want my story to be this after-school special where I just say, oh look, I was an addict and now I'm sober and that's it. It's not as simple as that. It doesn't happen overnight." Cara claims that she first experimented with alcohol at the age of 7 during a family wedding. In the next 3 years, she was diagnosed with insomnia and dyspraxia, and after suffering a mental breakdown at the age of 15, she was prescribed antidepressants. Even though she avoided therapy for 3 years, she was determined to make a change, so she went to rehab at the end of last year. She's since enrolled in a 12-step program and believes that the community made a huge difference to her. In the end, she realized that a lot of what she was missing from her life was real human connection. There's no doubt that she has a long road ahead of her, but she's clearly determined to get better. And now, have you guys listened to Cole Sprouse's interview on the Call Her Daddy podcast? A lot of people are saying that it's cringe and difficult to sit through, and that's mainly because it feels like a massive overshare. Before starting, Cole asks Alex Cooper if he can smoke inside her home. She agrees, and he spends most of the hour-long interview holding the cigarette and dabbing it in an ashtray. The 30-year-old actor got super candid about a lot of things. He talked about his relationship with Lily Reinhart and said, "I think if I had loved myself a little more, I probably would have left the relationship a little earlier." Apparently, the two of them felt a lot of pressure during their romance. Even though he said the breakup was mutual, he insisted that he was the one who left and said, "I should have been more selfish at different points in the relationship." Cole said, "It just felt like I had to take care of a lot of people around me, which was not good for me. I probably should have exercised a bit more selfishness in that situation. To be honest, when you're in a relationship for that long and someone leaves, it's not a surprise. It was time." He admitted that continuing to work with Lily on Riverdale after they broke up was really hard for both of them. Cole said, "It was hard to suspend the way that we felt about each other, and it didn't afford us the luxury of distance to really overcome that. I know we both did quite a bit of damage to each other." When asked about whether he's ever been cheated on, he said, "Yeah, by almost every single one of my girlfriends. Emotionally, yes, very, very much. And my first girlfriend, physically." Although he insisted that he doesn't blame anyone for anything because he has his own flaws in relationships. Cole also shared the very cringy story about how he lost his V card at 14. He said he was on family vacation in Florida when he met an older girl. Apparently they were on the beach when he turned to her and said, "Are you DTF?" Which is absolutely hilarious that he would even admit something like that. But most people who watched the interview thought that he actually came off a little pretentious. At one point, Cole refers to fame and financial excess as an elected trauma. He also said a bunch of other questionable things, like, "We should evaluate the history based on the historian." Talked about the fact that he was an atheist while nearly all of his Disney co-stars were Christian, so for some reason he would challenge them to intellectual debates. If anything, the way he talked about that time in his life made him sound like a bit of a bully. Meanwhile, his brother was even worse. Cole straight up said, "Dylan specifically was a huge bully. He would beat them up. And then I became known as the twin that would come up and be like, 'I'm so sorry for my brother, I apologize.'" That confession is really interesting because a lot of people grew up watching The Suit Life of Zack and Cody, but no one would have guessed they were so much like their characters in real life. If you didn't know, Cole played Cody, who was the shy, nerdy type, and Dylan played Zack, who was the show's bad boy. So that's what makes this interview all the more jarring. In fact, it seems like the whole internet is ripping it to shreds. One person wrote, "Cole Sprouse has the energy of the worst person you met in your intro to philosophy class." So many fans were calling him out for airing dirty laundry about his relationship with Lily, despite the fact that she hasn't spoken about him at all since they broke up in 2020. Someone tweeted, "Call Her Daddy podcast is so nasty. Like, first they invite Hailey Bieber to talk for 45 minutes about Selena. Now they invite Cole Sprouse to talk about his relationship with Lily Reinhart. Jobless people for real." But the best part about all of this is how much people were making fun of the unnecessary smoking. Because after all, couldn't Cole just wait 1 hour until the podcast was over? One user wrote, "Cole Sprouse is so funny. Bro sitting indoors smoking a cigarette on Call Her Daddy as if he's Mark Twain and not the worst actor on a bad teen drama." Which is hilarious because every time that someone wants to insult him now, all they have to do is bring up the fact that he's in Riverdale. I mean, the writing on that show is a complete joke in itself. It's not that he's a bad actor, but let's face it, playing Jughead Jones was never going to win him any awards. Now that even his longtime fans are switching up on him, it kind of makes you wonder, was the interview really that bad? Okay, the Hailey Bieber hate might have actually gone too far this time. Over the weekend, Justin Bieber did a surprise performance with Don Toliver at the Rolling Loud Music Festival in California, and the response from the crowd was definitely mixed. Pop Bass posted a video on Twitter which showed the audience cheering for him, but only at first. It wasn't long before they all started chanting F Hailey Bieber in unison. This happened as Justin had his back to the crowd ready to exit the stage. As the chanting gets louder, he could be heard saying, "Everybody take a step back please." The video was pretty shocking to say in the least, and it makes you wonder how long this is going to go on. Clearly people are very passionate when it comes to picking sides, but at what point will the hate stop? Selena May tweeted, "I understand what she did was wrong, but listen, we are all humans and this is actually more disgusting. Don't bully anyone. Mental health is so important." And Selena said this as well, but I see it's Justin's fans doing this. Don't be bullies. In fact, a lot of people agreed that the hate seems to be coming from Justin's fans this time. Someone tweeted, "Not people being this deranged saying it's Selenators. It's his own goddamn fandom hating on his wife." But more than anything, it seems like this video shows us how ridiculous this feud has become. Another person wrote, "All this because a certain woman can't get over her ex who married half a decade ago and is now jealous of the one he chose over her." Even if you don't agree with that, you can't deny that Justin has been getting a ton of blowback from Selena fans recently. Over the weekend, it was his 29th birthday party that brought about more drama. It was a massive celebration with artists like Leon Bridges, Harv, and Jules the Wolf performing. Other celebrities like Billie Eilish and the Kid Laroi were also there. And guests were given personalized hoodies that read Bieber 29. But they were also given party favors with an inscription that said, "I'm so thankful that I didn't end up with what I thought I wanted." And when photos surfaced of those gifts, fans thought it must have been about Justin's relationship with Selena. Even though that might be a reach, it just goes to show you how much fans have started analyzing everything that he posts on social media. That includes old videos. There are now several clips circulating the internet showing Justin ignoring or straight up forgetting about Hailey, especially while they're out in public together. But the latest resurfaced clip is pretty shocking. It was from a Facebook Live that Justin and Hailey did in May of 2020. In the video chat, Hailey emotionally admitted to viewers that the constant comments that she gets from other people's fans make her feel like less of a woman. She says, "The way that I feel like people have made comparisons and just put me in a position where they really made me feel like less of a woman. It's not easy, especially when people have fans that are really passionate and they want to express their opinion." Hailey said that a lot of these fans are probably children or very young people who would never understand the reality of a relationship because they're just so young. But while she's pouring her heart out to the camera, Justin is not exactly being supportive. The whole time she's talking, he keeps a poker face and gazes blankly off camera. Sometimes he says, but that is about it. Now people are rewatching the video almost 3 years later, and they're pretty shocked by his lack of response. In fact, his facial expression is so vacant that some people joke that he looked like a cardboard cutout or a green screen projection. A TikTok user by the name of Lucy Ortiz posted the video on her page. She talked about his body language and how that was a major red flag for their relationship. She said, "Just look at his face." As she's talking about how she's literally being bullied. He's literally sitting there like the entire time. Like this is the man's wife. The video has already racked up over 2.5 million views, and the comment section was savage. Someone made a Hunger Games reference and wrote, "It reminds me when Peter was held hostage in the Capitol and told what to say while being tortured." Another person mentioned his blank stare and suggested that he was being hypnotized to just sit there. Most people could agree that he genuinely looked like he would rather be anywhere else. So was this clip an indicator that their relationship is not that great behind the scenes? Or is everyone just reading way too much into this? Next up, Liam Hemsworth is definitely going to get dragged again. There's only 3 days to go until Miley drops her anticipated 8th studio album, Endless Summer Vacation. Yesterday she sent fans wild with anticipation when she revealed that we will get the video for her song River on Friday as well. So far she's already released a 13-second teaser which shows moody black and white visuals. The first image for River opens with Miley in fuzzy focus with her hair blowing in the wind. But after the chaos that followed her hit single Flowers, fans are already gearing up to see what kind of Liam slander might appear in the new song. Someone tweeted, "Miley Cyrus has filmed her newest music video for River in the same house of the Flowers video, but with 14 men, 14 being the number of women that Liam cheated on her with. She is messy." That tweet went viral with more than 40,000 likes and 10,000 retweets. In a follow-up post, someone wrote, "The 14 extras in Miley Cyrus's River music video appear to be Australian surfers. And if that's true, the reaction to her new song is going to be insane. But you might be a little bit caught off guard by that number. After all, it's hard to believe that he cheated on her with 14 different women during their marriage, even though rumors of his infidelity have been going around for a long time. Not only that, but Miley's own sister Brandy has commented on the drama. She was on the Your Favorite Thing podcast talking about the Easter eggs in her new track. She said, "It makes Miley seem like an absolute genius, and it's just too good. Every day I wake up to a new one." She spoke about the insane fan theories that came from flowers. Quote, "The first one was something about this Bruno Mars song. They're like, Liam played the Bruno Mars song at their wedding, and this is a response to the Bruno Mars song. That one's funny." Brandy brought up another popular theory about the green suit that Liam wore at the Avengers premiere, where he told Miley that she needed to behave for once, and so she wore it in the music video as a big FU to him. Brandy said, "The narratives are effing hilarious, but it's so great. The best PR that could ever happen because it gets people talking about the song on TikTok and it's everywhere, and it's so fun to watch it all play out. Miley's fans, I love you." As for if the rumors are even true, she told the podcast, "I'm not here to say what's true and what's not true, but even though nothing is confirmed, all of the Liam shade that she's been putting in her music has really got her ex frustrated. It was recently reported that he was considering suing her for defamation because flowers almost cost him his role in the upcoming Witcher series, but as time goes on, that seems less and less likely to happen. Although it's not only Liam who's getting pissed off with Miley's music. Chris Hemsworth and his wife Elsa Pataki have been very vocal about their disdain for the singer. Liam's sister-in-law Elsa was asked about the song, and she said, "It's a very old topic for us. If someone should talk about it, it should be Liam, but I think she can do what she wants." We know that Miley is no longer on speaking terms with Liam's family, and that's probably because they've made it very clear they're not even on her side. In another interview, Elsa spoke about their breakup and said, "My brother-in-law, well, after a relationship that you've dedicated 10 years to, he's a little bit down, but he's coping well. He's a strong boy and he deserves the best. I think he deserves much better." Liam ended up moving in with Chris and Elsa after the divorce for extra support. His brother also dissed Miley in an interview with News.com. He was speaking about Liam's health journey and said, "He's out here training and staying fit, and back in Australia doing his thing. We got him out of Malibu," which is where the former couple lived together during their marriage. So it's pretty obvious that Miley's former in-laws don't actually like her. Now, she could have easily responded to that shade, but instead she chose to take the high road and pour her feelings into her music, and that's really the best way to do it. And now let's talk about some insane Vanderpump drama. Tom Sandoval, aka the biggest cheater on the planet, has just issued an apology to his ex-girlfriend Ariana Madix. The former couple have gone through a very high-profile split after it was revealed that he cheated on her with their Vanderpump co-star Raquel Leviss. On Instagram, he wrote, "I want to first and foremost apologize to everyone I've hurt through this process. Most of all, I want to apologize to Ariana. I made mistakes, I was selfish, and made reckless decisions that hurt somebody I love." He went on to say, "I can only imagine how devastating this has been for Ariana and everyone around us. I feel really horrible about that. My biggest regret is that I dishonored Ariana. I never meant to disappoint so many people, including our loving families and friends." The actor concluded his message by taking some accountability for his actions and said, "The choices I made hurt so many people. I acted in a way that clashes with who and how I want to be." But even with his lengthy apology, it's been reported that the two of them are not working toward any sort of reconciliation because the damage that was done is just way too much to overcome. To give you a bit of background, in early March, rumors started surfacing that he cheated on her with Raquel. Fans were understandably shocked, considering that he had been in a relationship with Ariana for 9 years. At that time, he addressed the rumors in a statement on Instagram. In what seemed kind of like an admission of guilt, he asked fans to direct their anger towards him and not towards two of his restaurants, for the benefits of his business partners and staff. But there was no real mention of Ariana, the person he actually hurt the most. After news of his shocking affair came out, several Vanderpump cast members from current and past seasons spoke out online in support of Ariana. Lala Kent slammed him for his infidelity and called on fans to do the same. She posted on her Instagram story saying, "Anyone going to Tom Sandoval's show tonight, here is the drill. I obviously will not be there, but I want you all to bust into a chant of Ariana, Ariana." She went on to say, "This is so fun. I usually don't get involved, but now I am activated. Now that I have consent from Ariana, blowtorch, gasoline, grenade launcher, it's all ready." So clearly most, if not all of the Vanderpump cast are going to be going against Tom. Raquel Leviss has also just broken her silence and decided to come clean about the affair. She said, "I want to apologize for my actions and my choices, foremost to Ariana, and to my friends and the fans so invested in our relationships. There is no excuse. I'm not a victim and I must own my actions, and I deeply regret hurting Ariana. Raquel explains that she has sought emotional validation through intimate connections that are not healthy, and she prioritizes those connections over her own friendships. She also admits to the months-long affair and claims that she has now lost friendships, received death threats and hate emails, and had her privacy violated when the news came out. Raquel insists that she's begun counseling to end her unhealthy behavioral cycle and learn to get stronger emotional boundaries. She ends a statement saying, "I don't expect sympathy, understanding, or forgiveness. Right now, I must focus on my own health and well-being as I strive to be a better person moving forward." Even though she did own up to the affair, there's no way that this apology will be enough to get her out of hot water. We know that it takes two to tango, so right now it makes sense that both Raquel and Tom are receiving tons of backlash for their actions. Have you heard what happened at the GloRilla concert? On Sunday at her show in Rochester, New York, there was a disastrous crowd rush that left 2 people dead and 8 people injured. According to reports, audience members apparently thought they heard a firearm go off after the concert ended at around 11 p.m. Everyone then ran towards the exits at the same time, which caused a massive crowd surge. When police entered the venue, they found 3 women critically injured, including 33-year-old Rondisha Belton, who then died at the hospital. A second woman, who was aged 35, also died from her injuries, while another one remains in critical condition. The other 7 people are not believed to have life-threatening injuries. The strange thing is that law enforcement found no evidence of firearms or stabbings at the venue, so they're now investigating multiple causes for the stampede. In a statement, the police said, "We are hearing many reports of potential causes. Preliminary reports from people at the scene indicate that these injuries were caused from being trampled. They suggest that the chaos could have been started by either the crowd size, firearms, or something like pepper spray." The mayor of Rochester, Malik D. Evans, said that the incident was totally unacceptable and a tragedy of epic proportions. Quote, "When you go to a concert, you do not expect to be trampled. Your loved ones expect you to be able to come home. We are going to hold people accountable for what happened last night, period. I intend to get to the bottom of this." One fan who was stuck in the crowd surge spoke to a local news station about the experience. She said, "Me and the girl next to me were climbing on each other trying to get each other up. I was watching the life flash before my eyes and I still didn't know what was going on." She said she remembered telling herself, "You gotta get up, you gotta go home. If you stay here, they're going to keep running you over." After the news of the tragedy hit the headlines, GloRilla took to Twitter claiming that she was not aware of the incident until after she left the venue. She wrote, "I am devastated and heartbroken over the tragic deaths that happened after Sunday's show. My fans mean the world to me, praying for their families and for a speedy recovery of everyone affected." In response, fans tweeted messages of support to the artist and the victims of the tragedy. Naturally, there were also a lot of people comparing this incident to the Astroworld concert in 2021, which saw 10 people lose their lives and dozens injured in a disastrous crowd surge. All of this was happening while Travis Scott continued his performance. It was said that the concert continued for roughly 40 minutes after the first person was crushed. One user wrote, "Travis got cancelled for this. I speak for everyone when we say we should hold GloRilla responsible for this as well." In response, another user tweeted, "The difference between GloRilla and Travis is that Travis watched and refused to stop. GloRilla, on the other hand, immediately ended the show once panic started to happen, so GloRilla didn't do anything." Other fans laid the blame on the venue itself and the size of the crowd. Someone wrote, "The fact that it's no one's fault besides the establishments, because they knew they were over capacity. Send love and condolences to the friends and family of those who are invited and has passed over." Sadly, this is far from the first time a tragedy like this has happened. Last year, South Korea saw one of the deadliest crowd crushes in recent history. On the evening of Saturday, the 29th of October, as many as 100,000 people poured into the narrow, sloping streets of Itaewon for a massive Halloween celebration. But just after 10 p.m, chaos erupted and witnesses reported seeing crowds surging in different directions. People lost their footing on the slope, which caused a domino effect. They were piled on top of each other and trapped. Some even tried to scale the sides of buildings to escape. In the end, more than 150 people died in the crush, and 196 were injured. These incidents occur when too many people push into a confined area, either on the way in or trying to get out. And no matter how calmly a crowd behaves, it can only fit through a narrow exit at a certain rate. So with concerts and festivals, we clearly need better crowd control. There's no question about it. The only thing people cannot agree on is whether or not we should blame the artist who's performing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And now, why is Elon Musk getting more and more paranoid? It's been reported that he is routinely followed around the company's headquarters by 2 bulky bodyguards, even when he goes to the restroom. The 2 bearded guards went viral back in January after they came with him to his fraud trial, and now they appear to have accompanied him to Twitter as well. One Twitter engineer who only identified himself as Sam told BBC News, "Wherever he goes in the office, there are at least 2 bodyguards, very bulky, tall Hollywood movie bodyguards. Even when he goes to the restroom." He said the constant use of bodyguards bodyguards suggested that Musk does not trust his remaining staff at Twitter. Now, there could be a number of reasons for this, but it does seem like paranoia, possibly because he has sacked a huge number of Twitter staff recently. What's more is that insiders who are still at the company have described a chaotic working environment where almost everyone in charge of online safety has been laid off. Current and former employees of the company have said that the features intended to protect users from trolling are now proving to be way too difficult to maintain. Several workers anonymously spoke to BBC about this, and one of them was the former head of content design. She says that everyone on her team had been sacked, so she ended up resigning herself. This is extremely troubling considering that they were in charge of creating Twitter's safety measures, which reduced trolling by 60%. An engineer currently working at the company claimed that nobody's taking care of this type of work now. He described Twitter as a building that seems fine from the outside, but inside it's on fire. And there's plenty of reason to believe that he's telling the truth. There's now evidence that hate is thriving under Musk's leadership, with trolls emboldened, the online attacks are intensifying. There's been a spike in accounts following misogynistic profiles. A recent study conducted by Montclair State University revealed a spike in hate speech since the takeover. The study tracked how often homophobic, anti-Semitic, and racial hate-driven terms were used. Researchers found that about 398 hate tweets an hour were made in the 12 hours after the acquisition was finalized, a number that nearly quadrupled from the 84 tweets in the hour in the week leading up to it. Since taking charge, the tech billionaire set up what he calls a content moderation council that was composed of people with widely diverse viewpoints who were supposed to prevent the spread of misinformation and harmful content. But that very council that he put together has already fallen through. Without warning, he abruptly dissolved the team just moments before they were scheduled to meet with company representatives. So in reality, he might not have actually had a plan to stop the spread of hate speech on the platform. Instead, Musk seems to be preoccupied with something else. According to multiple reports, he's more worried about how many people are seeing his tweets. Last month, he made his account private for a day to test whether that might boost the size of his audience. But that didn't give him the answers he wanted. He then gathered a group of engineers and advisors into a room to figure it out. According to multiple sources, he asked something along the lines of, "Why are my engagement numbers tanking? This is ridiculous. I have more than 100 million followers, and I'm only getting tens of thousands of impressions." It was suggested that public interest in him is declining. Employees initially thought that his reach had been restricted somehow, but they found no evidence of that. So the answer is very simple. He's just not that popular anymore. But Musk did not take this news well, and he reportedly fired the engineer who presented him with that information. Ever since his takeover, it's been made pretty clear that he is something of a tyrant at Twitter, but all that intensity might have been for nothing, since Twitter usage in the US has declined almost 9% since the takeover. And with all things considered, that's really no surprise. And lastly, we now have a list of all the illegal substances Prince Harry has used and recommended. On Saturday, Harry sat down for a trauma therapy session with Dr. Gabor Mate, and the whole conversation was live streamed. Not everyone thinks that was a good idea because the revelations in this conversation will likely come back to bite him. The two men covered a range of topics, from Harry's use of psychedelics to the war in Afghanistan and the multi-generational emotional issues in his family. In fact, Harry really drove home that last one. We already suspected that the royals are not exactly huggers, but when Mate suggested he had a childhood that was deprived of touch, he agreed. Apparently, he was traumatized by his father's lack of physical affection, which never really went beyond a touch on the shoulder or the knee. This is something that Harry is very concerned about passing on to his own children, Archie and Lilibet. He said, "It leaves me in the position of a father having two children trying to smother them with love. I feel a huge responsibility not to pass on any trauma or negative experiences that I've had as a kid or as a man growing up. There are times when I catch myself when I should be smothering them with that love, but I might not be." So even though he doesn't entirely blame Charles for his lack of physical affection, Harry said he's now focused on breaking the cycle in his own family. He also condemns the kind of life they lead and describes them all as being in an unhealthy gilded cage. So again, he's doubling down on the idea that William and Kate are all very cold with each other, even behind closed doors. According to Harry, it was Meghan that saved him from this. He said, "I was stuck in this world and she was from a different world and helped draw me out of that. But none of the elements of my life now would have been possible without me seeing it for myself." Now we get into the most controversial part of the session. Eventually, the conversation turned to substances that he may have used to try and mask his trauma. Harry admitted that the infamous powdery substance didn't actually do anything for him, while the leafy green stuff really did help. But out of everything that he's tried, it's psychedelics that really blew his mind. He said, "I started doing it recreationally and then started to realize how good it was for me." In his book, we learned that he once took mushrooms at a party at Courtney Cox's house, and the results were interesting, but now he admits to doing a little bit more than that. He revealed to Dr. Mate that he once tried vodka, which is a hallucinogenic drink that's made by brewing the leaves of plants from the Amazon rainforest into a tea. He described the experience as cleaning a dirty windscreen and removing the filters that he saw life through. Quote, "It removed it all for me, and it brought me a sense of relaxation, release, comfort, a lightness that I imagined to hold on to for a long period of time." This is obviously something that the doctor would have agreed with, because in 2011, Maté was sternly warned by Health Canada against using the plant in treatments. Today, he's still a huge advocate of the substance when it comes to mental health care, but that's part of what makes him so controversial. Although Harry has a very positive outlook on these substances, he made it clear that he's very skeptical about Big Pharma. He asked Maté's opinion on prescriptions in a sort of way that made it seem like he's not a believer himself. Later, he brought up the highly contested theory that doctors are paid more when they prescribe medication. Overall, it was this part of the conversation that was really criticized. Journalist and Dr. Max Pemberton called his comments hugely irresponsible. He said, "Harry plainly has no understanding of the serious damage these substances can wreak on users, damage that I see on mental health hospital wards with upsetting frequency." In one of the stranger moments of the livestream, Harry looked visibly uncomfortable when Maté began to diagnose him with various mental health conditions. During the session, he got diagnosed with PTSD, depression, and ADD, or attention deficit disorder. Even though he was clearly surprised, Harry sort of goes along with it and says, "Okay, should I just accept that or should I look into it?" The doctor insists that he can do whatever he wants with that information, but it was obviously a bit of an awkward moment and very difficult to watch. Harry also confessed that he actually reads the Amazon reviews of his book, which means that he's clearly keeping tabs on what everyone's been saying about him. First up, everyone's talking about Chris Rock's controversial new special Selective Outrage. It's Netflix's first global live streaming event, but that's not the reason why it's hit the headlines. Chris has commented on the Oscars slap in his other stand-up shows. But this time he goes on a savage tirade against not only Will Smith, but his wife Jada Pinkett Smith. There's no other way to put this, it was absolutely brutal. He starts off by saying, "I'm going to do a show tonight without offending anybody. I'm going to try my best because you never know who might get triggered. People always say words hurt. Anyone who says words hurt has never been punched in the face." Chris saved his other jokes about the slap until the last 10 minutes of the show, but that was when he completely unloaded. He said, "You all know what happened to me, getting smacked by Suge Smith. It still hurts. I got a summertime ringing in my ears. But I'm not a victim, baby. You'll never see me on Oprah or Gayle crying. I took that hit like Pacquiao." But instead of focusing on the slap, Chris puts Will and Jada's relationship on blast. He said, "Smith practices selective outrage. Selective outrage because everyone knows what the F happened. Everyone really knows that I had nothing to do with that. I didn't have any entanglements. An entanglement, for people that don't know what everyone else will, is that his wife was effing her son's friend." Chris then said that he has no idea why two talented people would put something like that on the internet. He points out that everyone in Hollywood talks smack about their open relationship, but Will waited to reassert his masculinity until he could attack a smaller, weaker man. Since the events of that night, Chris has said that people asked him why he didn't hit Will back. In response, he said, "Because I got parents. You know what my parents taught me? Don't fight in front of white people." But a lot of his criticism obviously falls on Jada. He claimed that she was the one who started the incident because she hurt Will way more than he hurt him. Chris also claims that in 2016, she pressured him to quit his job as host of the Oscars in solidarity with Will because he didn't get nominated for his movie Concussion, which is ridiculous when you think about it. But the Smiths were far from his only target in the special. The comedian also hit on a wide range of topics in the first 50 minutes, including reproductive rights, racism in America, gender identity, and wokeness. And this is where the title of his special comes in. Chris says, "I'm all for social justice. The thing I have a problem with is the selective outrage." He said, "It's the kind of people who play Michael Jackson songs but won't play R. Kelly. Same crime, one of them just has better songs." The comedian also makes it clear that he resents privileged people and has very little sympathy for someone like Meghan Markle. He said he was unmoved by her complaining in the Oprah interview and said that she shouldn't be so shocked by the prejudices within the royal family. Chris also delved into his own romantic life post-divorce and said, "I'm trying to date women my age, which is 10 to 15 years younger than me. Don't hate the player, hate the game. I didn't get rich and stay in shape to talk about Anita Baker. I'm trying to F Doja Cat." Selective outrage was his sixth stand stand-up special and his second for Netflix after 2018's Tambourine. But for most people, this special really gave them what they wanted to see, Chris being completely open about his side of the Oscars story. In fact, it was such a highly publicized disaster that the Academy has now implemented a new crisis team for the upcoming event in order to stop it from happening again. The CEO, Bill Kramer, said, "It is our hope that we will be prepared for anything that we may not anticipate right now, but that we're planning for just in case it does happen. These crisis plans allow us to say this is the group that we have to gather very quickly." The Academy's president, Janet Yang, also admitted that they dropped the ball by waiting too long to respond to the slap. She said, "I'm sure you all remember we experienced an unprecedented event at the Oscars. What happened on stage was fully unacceptable, and the response from our organization was inadequate." Although no one knows exactly how these crisis teams would have been able to respond to something that happened so quickly, they obviously want to prepare themselves if it were to ever happen again. You could also call that the Will Smith effect. But the good news is we only have to wait 1 week until this year's awards. Moving on, Selena Gomez has gotten herself into a bit of hot water with her latest message. The singer took to TikTok on Sunday to beg her followers to be kinder to people online. In the first post, she thanked her fans and wrote, "I love you all so much. I'm deeply grateful for each and every one of you humans. You make me unbelievably happy." And in the second post, she said, "Please be kinder and consider others' mental health. My heart has been heavy and I only want good for everyone." In that message, she almost sounds like she's condemning all the hate that's been directed at Hailey Bieber, because it's obviously gone very far at this point. But even though she might have good intentions, a lot of people don't see it that way. In response to the post, fans wrote things like, "Oh, now she cares about mental health," and "praying for Selena Gomez's downfall." One user tweeted, "It's so easy to come online and tell your fans to be nicer after you practically set the world on fire last week." In response to the post, influencer and Twitch streamer Michaela called Selena the biggest manipulator and said her fans just eat it all up. Another user agreed and wrote, "Please be kinder and consider others' mental health." Well, why doesn't she take her own advice, because she considered no one when commenting consecutively on 7 different TikToks, including hate accounts on another woman and getting 4 other women dragged too, and family members who were minors. When you take a look at the arguments against Selena, most of it is people accusing her of playing the victim and getting her fans to send hate to Hailey Bieber so she didn't have to do it herself. Some even went as far as accusing her of waiting until the bullying reached its peak before she stepped in and said something, all to try and look innocent. But does this have any truth to it at all? Well, one thing that Selena has in abundance right now is fans, and everyone knows that. Since the feud started, she's gained more than 10 million followers on Instagram, making her the most followed woman on the platform. Hailey, on the other hand, has lost a combined total of 1 million followers on social media. She's lost around 800,000 on Instagram and more than 300,000 on TikTok. Next, there is evidence that Selena went on a commenting spree where she seemed to support her fans who made videos attacking Hailey. In one TikTok where one of her fans said, "Does anyone else just feel really bad for Selena Gomez?" In a TikTok, one of her fans said, "Does anyone else just feel really bad for Selena Gomez? Like, can you imagine going through a breakup so publicly with a guy that you were in love with for like 7 years, and then 2 months later he just marries someone?" In response, the singer commented under the video saying, "That made me cry, thank you." In another TikTok, a fan said she was officially supporting Selena after all the mean girl bullying she's been receiving. The post called out the 2 women as bullies, and Selena just commented, "I love you" under the video. Then she did something a little more obvious. A video resurfaced of Hailey in 2017 when she was a host on Drop the Mic. When Taylor Swift's name was mentioned, she was seen pretending to gag. Now, this video is pretty old and it could be considered a joke on Hailey's part, but Selena assumed that she was being dead serious. So she left a comment under the video saying, "So sorry, my best friend is and continues to be one of the best in the game." But here's a $1 million question. Did Selena know that by commenting on all of these TikToks, she was encouraging her fans to attack Hailey? Was it really all that calculated, or was she just defending herself? We all know that Selena's fan base is 10 times the size of Hailey's. So was it that surprising that they pretty much took over the internet? Regardless of her intentions though, she's clearly trying to put a stop to it now and get her fan base to take a step back. This This feud seems like it's been overwhelming for her too, and she's since decided to take a break from social media. In an Instagram post, Selena wrote, "I'm 30, I'm too old for this." She said, "I'm very happy, I'm so blessed, I have the best friends, the best fans in the whole world, and I just couldn't be happier." So at this point, she seems like she just wants the drama and all the bullying to die down, because it's obviously gotten way out of hand. Next up, guess who had a bad experience meeting Meghan Markle? It was Rebel Wilson, and she lived to tell the tale. During a recent appearance on Watch What Happens Live, she recalled the time that she ran into the royal couple in Santa Barbara, but interestingly enough, she got a very different vibe from both of them. She spoke about how Prince Harry could not have been nicer, whereas Meghan, on the other hand, was standoffish. She said Meghan was not as cool, she wasn't as naturally warm, but Rebel thinks the reason she was cold was because her very Australian mom was asking her all of these slightly rude questions like, "Where are your kids?" which might have made her uncomfortable. The actress joked with her fellow guest John Oliver that the couple might have been thinking, who are these annoying convicts from Australia? Apparently she met Harry and Meghan through a mutual polo player friend, so she's somewhat more acquainted with them than you might think. But as you would have guessed, her story seems to have the internet divided. One user tweeted, "The way Rebel Wilson first laughingly said that Meghan wasn't warm to her, jokingly setting the tone for some cheap laughs and anti-Meghan sentiment, and then brought up that her mum was rude to Meghan instead of speaking the other way around is peak caucasity." Another person wrote, "Such misogyny towards Meghan Markle. Just really a bad look, Rebel Wilson. I hope everyone starts asking where your child is when you go out. You should apologize, rude is not okay." A lot of people pointed out how outrageous it was to expect Meghan to always respond with kindness, no matter what. Someone tweeted, "Hold on, Rebel Wilson's mum asked Meghan Markle rude questions, and now Rebel is prattling on about how Meghan wasn't naturally warm to them?" There's a lot to unpick here, but let's start off with the fact that you can't expect someone to be welcoming when you are rude to them. But this is not the first time that Meghan has been accused of being difficult. Former staffers at Kensington Palace have come forward claiming that they were bullied by her while she lived there. It was so bad that 2 senior royal members of the palace staff were allegedly forced to leave their jobs. The couple's communications assistant at the time reported the behavior back in October of 2018. The complaint said, "I'm very concerned that the Duchess was able to bully 2 PAs out of the household in the past year. The treatment of them was totally unacceptable. The Duchess seems intent on always having someone in her sights. I remain concerned that nothing will be done." In June, Buckingham Palace announced that they had investigated the incident, but those findings have remained private. In a book called Courtiers, The Hidden Power of the Crown, several members of staff then came out labeling her as a narcissist psychopath and claimed that Harry and Meghan played them. Apparently they also refer to themselves as the Sussex Survivors Club after they stopped working for the couple. In response, Meghan said that she was saddened by the attack on her character, particularly as someone who's been the target of bullying herself. In her podcast last year, she hit back at the claims again when she insisted that being particular is not the same thing as being difficult. Quote, "You're allowed to set a boundary. You're allowed to be clear. It does not make you demanding. It doesn't make you difficult. It makes you clear." In terms of her being assertive, she said, "I think a high tide raises all ships. We're all going to succeed. So let's make sure it's really great because it's a shared success for everybody." So from her perspective, she's just a tell it like it is person, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that.